Okay, everybody, this is Bobby Walsh at the Connecticut Institute of Finance, and we are getting toward the last leg of the year. So the last quarter, this is right before October, and you actually guys will see this probably in the first week of October, when I always like to remind clients there are certain housekeeping things that everybody should be doing at this time of year. We want to take advantage of certain things that we want to do before year end for tax purposes and also our own financial well-being. So as we move into 2026, it's kind of like time to take a little bit of action on this stuff. So one of the first things that we want to talk to is you want to maybe start taking or looking, if you manage your own portfolios, to do a little tax loss harvesting. So this is where we look at different parts of your portfolio that maybe you have lost money on, or your investment actually has gone down. So the idea behind this is we want to sell some stuff against any possible gains, right, to actually limit the amount of taxes that we have to pay next year when we do your taxes. You don't want the tax tail to wear the good dog, right? But at the same time, if you have some losers and you want to offset some of the gains on the winners, you can do that without any real issue. Many times by taking tax losses, because we want to be able to take that $3,000 loss we can take any given year and also not pay capital gains on all those gains that we actually had by offsetting against some of the losses. Another thing that you might want to do at this time of year is to do Roth conversions. So Roth conversions, the idea behind it, we take your IRA and we take a certain amount of your IRA and we convert it into a Roth IRA. Now you can do this before 59 and a half and you pay no penalties. And by converting it, you will pay tax on the money that you convert. But the money that then grows in the account and any new money that you make in that account from now until you actually choose to take it out, you'll never pay tax on. Okay, so it's more of a mathematical equation. If you're in a very high tax bracket, it may not work that well, especially if you're in a high tax bracket and you're a little older. But if you're younger, okay, and we can have time to make up for the taxes we're paying now and the fact that we're going to grow this tax-free forever, doing Roth tax conversions, I can't speak today, doing Roth IRA conversions is really a really efficient way to make sure that later on in life, when you have to start taking RMDs, your required minimum distributions, that we're not taking as much and not paying as much tax then. The other things that we want to take a look at is year-end charitable giving. So if you are charitable and you like to give to charities and you're giving out, this will be the time that you kind of want to look on what type of charities you want to give to and make sure that money's going out to the charities that you want. One of the neat things that you can do when you want to do your year-end contributions is you can do a qualified charitable distribution from your IRAs. So for those of you who are older than age 70 and a half, you can donate up to actually $108,000 in 2025 directly from your IRA, and that will count as your charitable distribution, but you will pay no tax on that. Okay, so now if you're taking your RMDs, I have a lot of older clients who are, have a little bit of money and they've saved up. They don't really want to take their RMDs. They really don't have any use for the money, right? They're like, well, I really don't want to pay the tax on this. So if you are giving to charity, it would be better to take it as a qualified charitable distribution, right? Thereby that you're giving the same money to charity, but now you're not paying tax on those RMDs, right? So it's just like little things that we can do. You can also if you're going to make donations like that, you have a regular brokerage account, not obviously an IRA, but if you have donating appreciable securities, so you own some stock from the day of the flood, and it's made you a lot of money, and you have never sold it, and it's kept increasing in value, but you have really large capital gains in that. Well, by donating that, okay, you basically also not going to pay any tax on that donation, and you're giving more money to the charity who actually sell it, and they won't pay any tax on it. So it is a pretty cool way to give money to charity and at the same time help yourself in taxes. Now the opposite thing is to donate depreciable securities. So in this case, we would sell the securities of stock that we had, we bought for X amount of dollars. It's gone down in value. You sell it, take the tax loss, and actually donate those securities to the charity or whatever you want to do it, thereby actually taking the loss and still giving the money to charity that you want to do. So some other things that we want to talk about is this is also the time that you may want to do some catch-up with your 401ks, 403s, 457s. Now, this is where at the end of the year, you're allowed to if you're at a certain age, basically catch up to either maximize what you can to your 401k, 403b plan. You go to your employer and say, hey, take a little bit more out of my check because I want to max out this year, or because of what age you are, you're actually allowed to do a little bit more than maybe you have. So this year, your deferred contribution for 401k plans, all right, is and 403b plans is $23,500. Right, if you are under 49 years old. If you are 50, all right, or older, all right, you can actually do 23,500, and you can do a catch-up contribution of an additional 7,500 into your 401k or 403b plan. In 457 plans, you actually can do the 23,500, and you can do $11,250 for a total of 34,750. Simple IRA, 16.5, you can do an extra 3,500 if you're over 50 years old, and a simple IRA if you're between 60 and 63 and you're putting money away, you actually can do $5,250. So these are all things that we can kind of put some extra money away for retirement if you're still working, and at the same time, if you're at a certain age and you haven't put it up earlier, they let you catch up by adding a little bit more money to it, so therefore you can figure out where you are and lower your tax liability for the year. So some other stuff that we want to look at is some estate strategies for year end. This is also a good time if you want to kind of look at your stuff on like where you are. So I always encourage people around this time of year, it's in the fall, we're looking at things, we're getting ready for the new year, right? Review your beneficiary designations, right? Go look at all your accounts, IRAs, 401ks, 403s, your 457s, any trusts that you have set up, and make sure that your beneficiaries are set up the way that you want. Lots of times we forget about these things, we lose people, they pass away, and maybe they're a beneficiary, and it gets very, very messy. So you want to make sure all your beneficiaries that your money is going to go the way you want, God forbid you pass away. And year end is a good time to do that. It's also, when you look at your beneficiaries, I always suggest, all right, when you call up the insurance company or the 401k plan or whatever it is, and it's made my own suspicions on people, you want to trust but verify, I guess, to a certain extent, is don't ask them if your brother Charlie is your beneficiary. Ask them, who do you have down there as my beneficiary? Let them tell you. It's just way too easy for them, yes, Charlie's your beneficiary, right? So you kind of want to make sure they know and they tell you who the beneficiaries are, right? Just to make sure it's going to flow the way you actually want it to flow. You want to update maybe some of your key documents. Certain documents we don't have to worry about as much. As long as your will says what it says, that's it. The reason why they call your will your last will and testament, it's the last one you did. But other documents you have, your power of attorney, your healthcare proxy, and the living will, these have to actually be taken care of. Right? Because what happens with these things is that if they get too old, all right, it can be very difficult for institutions to honor them the way you want them to be. So if you have a power of attorney, for example, and it is 5-6 years old, and now that person has to help you or sign for you, or you have the power of attorney maybe for a child or for your dad, if it's really too old, the financial institution may not honor it or give you a real hard time to it. So it's always a good idea at year end to go down to your financial institution, your bank, and say, hey, you guys this is still good? And at worst, they're going to ask you, sure it is, but if you just take this paper, re-sign it, date it, have it notarized, and then it's going to be good for X amount of years. This is not something that's unified. Some of the bigger broker dealers, they let you keep this stuff out for years and years and years. Some of your small savings banks and some of your smaller institutions, they get really a little funky and nervous about this stuff. So you might want to do this even yearly or definitely like every other year. Your power of attorney, you want to have it updated. Your healthcare proxy, same thing. Your living will. Go to your doctor and say, hey, is this okay? Right? Because you want these documents, because these documents you're going to use when you're not doing all that well, but you're allowing other people to help you. You want those people to actually be able to help you. Certain type of 529 plans, depending on what state you live in, what 529 plan you're actually using. You may want to start making sure you filled out the 529s and made your contribution for the year, because you can get actually a tax break from the state, depending on which state you're living on, and that you want to donate and get that tax deduction also for the year. But it's always good at the year end to kind of look at the whole year when you're moving into that final quarter, just to make sure everything is the way you want. If you're not currently working with somebody, or you have any questions about this stuff, or you're a little confused about everything I have, we have in our blog basically this all written up. You can just go in and look at it, and all the information's there. And or feel free to give us a call. Come on in, sit down with us. We can go over this with you. Just make an appointment by year end. Happy to sit down and go over this. The last thing I want to do is also remind everybody, RMDs, your required minimum distributions, you have to do them before December 31st. They are a little funky right now, okay, depending on when you started taking your RMDs, an inherited IRA that you're actually taking RMDs from. If you turn 73 this year versus you started taking RMDs from previous year. If your husband passed and you're now taking money from your spouse, there's a lot of different rules out there on what you're supposed to take, and the IRS is really cracking down on this stuff. So if you have any questions about RMDs, please, whether the money's with us or somebody else, that's fine. Come in, we'll sit down, we'll go over it for you, we'll help you figure it out and tell you how much money you actually have to take out. This is Bobby Walsh. Moving into the last year of the quarter, it's been a good year so far. We expect things to continue, right? We're pretty positive about the market. The Federal Reserve has just cut rates 25 basis points. We expect them. Again, this is our opinion, and opinions like noses, everybody has one, that the Fed will probably cut rates 2 more times. Inflation data just came out. It's looking pretty tame, all right? It's definitely the Fed's now more secondary concern, but they are a little concerned about unemployment and how the labor market's doing. So we do believe that they probably will lower rates at least 2 more times. This is good for the market in general, and also good for any of you people who are a little younger and maybe looking at your first-time home purchase or buying a home. Interest rates probably will come down a little bit, and will probably make buying a house or getting a mortgage a little bit easier. Do not expect rates, though, to go back to where they were a couple years ago during COVID. When I first bought my house, I paid a mortgage rate of 14%, 14.5%. But Ronald Reagan was president. Son got a house, I guess, about 5 years ago. It was during COVID. I think he's paying a mortgage rate of 3%. Both those rates are a little silly. Okay, the average rate of mortgages usually runs between like 6.25% and 7.25%. I do believe personally that mortgage rates will come down in the future, not to 3. Okay, we might be looking, like if you went out 10 years and look back 7, that the average rate might be between 5.25% and 6.25%. But that's kind of what you look at. Remember, when you buy a house, you marry the house, but you kind of only rent the mortgage rate. If rates go down, you always can refinance and get that lower rate. But the price of houses tend to pretty consistently, gradually go up over time. So if you like to talk about that, if you like to talk about rates, maybe getting into your first home, what's available, what can you do, please, we have a whole team to help you do this. Give us a call, make an appointment, come in, sit with us. Happy to have that conversation with you. This is Bobby Walsh at the Connecticut Institute of Finance. Happy October, everybody.